In this video, I'm going to go over the Chromebook return plan. There are specific details that it's really important for everyone to understand. So please, if there's anything that you're unsure of, just reach out so I can clarify. Okay, I'll start with things that homeroom teachers can start doing right now. We need to identify those students who are not using, or do not have rather, district Chromebooks, right? And so the way that we're doing that is we have a spreadsheet for all the different schools, and each school has a tab at the bottom for each teacher in that building, each homeroom teacher in that building, right? So the first very important thing that I have to stress is please do not edit anybody else's tab. If you're coming in here to work in this spreadsheet, make sure that you are in the correct tab. So find your name at the bottom and make sure that you are in the correct tab. That is extremely important. Okay, so moving on then, I'm going to work in this demo tab so that I don't edit anybody else's. Everybody has a list of their homeroom students, right? So what you're going to do, once you have that, you have your list, you've surveyed your students. Many teachers know which students are using personal devices already, but if you don't, survey your students. Make sure you've got a list of which students do not have district devices. It doesn't matter that they're saying like, well, I have one, but I don't use it. Well, we don't care what you're using. We want to know, do you have a district device or not, right? So first we're going to identify those students who do not have a district device, right? So using this example, let's say that Carter here does not have a district device. He's been using a parent's laptop since day one, right? So we'll say does not have a district device. And you'll notice that these little arrows here are drop downs where you can choose that, right? And let's say Nicole here also, parent went out and bought Nicole a Chromebook at the start of the year. And so Nicole does not have a district device. She has a personal device. And then let's say Judah here also has been using a laptop at home that belongs to his parents. And so he also did not need a district Chromebook. So we'd identify that student as not having a district device. So that's step one, right? If you're uncertain of any students and which devices they're using, you don't know if they have a Chromebook or not, you can just survey them and ask. You don't have to tell them why you're inquiring, but you just need to get that information of which students do not have one. They didn't get one from the district. For those with really young students, it may be easier to reach out to a parent if you're uncertain of which device they're using. Okay, so once you have that information for all of your students, of those who are not using a district device, the next thing you need to do is, again, this is on the plan, is we're going to indicate which students are attending summer school, because we're not going to collect devices from students who are registered for summer school, right? So here, this spreadsheet is a list of all the students that are registered for summer school. And so these students we do not need to collect Chromebooks from, and we need to indicate that on that spreadsheet with your homeroom students. So let's take again the example that we were using before. I was using a demo kindergarten teacher, and let's see, you're just going to basically look, here's all the kindergarten students that are registered that are from Angelo. So again, use the tabs on the bottom to go to your school and find the students who are registered at your school. They're broken down by grade level. So then you would go to your spreadsheet with your student list and you'd say, okay, let's see here. I saw this student is registered for summer school. So in the column that says summer school question mark, you'll identify those students who are registered for summer school. So let's say that this student is, and then you'd go back to your spreadsheet, registered for summer school, right? And you just kind of see which of your students are registered for summer school, and everyone who is registered for summer school, you would then indicate by clicking on the arrow, the drop down in column D here, and indicating that yes, this student is registered for summer school. I'm just going to, for the sake of demonstration, choose a few and say that they are registered. Okay, so everybody who is registered for summer school will turn yellow, and everybody who does not have a district device has been indicated and they turn green. Excellent. All right, so the next step then is here in step 3 is to prepare a learning reinforcement packet that will be distributed to students on Friday, June 11th when the parents come to pick up their report cards. So that's something that you can start preparing now, put those together so that when students' parents come on the 11th, they're able to pick up their report cards once they drop off their Chromebook and pick up these packets as well. All right, moving on from there. On the first day of pickup on Thursday, June 10th, for the students who are in person. So on this day, now we can start to complete the rest of column C once students start actually turning in their devices. So I'm just going to go through this and kind of outline a potential scenario here, right? So let's say Brian is a remote student. So this student on Thursday, June 10th, is not going to return their device because they're not in school, right? Whereas Ava, let's say that this student comes to school and she returns her Chromebook and her charger, so we'll put returned. And let's say Bella does not return her Chromebook. And let's say that this student also comes to school on the 10th but forgets their Chromebook, so we'll put not returned. Student returns it. This student is remote. They don't return it on the 10th, remote. Okay, so this is a potential scenario that you might face, and this is what your spreadsheet should look like by the end of the day on Thursday once you've collected Chromebooks from all of your in-person students. I've just made up this data, but what should be done is you should have all of the rows for column C completed, right? So now we've indicated which students do not have a district device. We've also indicated which students did not return their device on Thursday the 10th, and that might be that they're remote students, so they were not in school, so of course they didn't return it, or perhaps they were in-person students and they didn't bring their Chromebook that day, they just forgot. They also would fall under not returned, right? And then of course we have the students who are in person those days and return their Chromebooks. This is what you want to have completely finished by Thursday the 10th. That way, on Friday the 11th, right, in the morning when you're at your school and maybe your admin is going to have you set up tables for parents to drop off Chromebooks. Maybe they're going to handle it at the office. That's going to be up to the building. But the point is anybody will be able to access this and see exactly the status of all the students in your homeroom. So in this case, let's say that Carter's parent comes to pick up the report card and the learning packet on Friday the 11th. So in this case, this student is not going to have a Chromebook with them when they come to school, but that's okay because they didn't have a district device. It's also good for me to know that they're enrolled in summer school so that we can assign one to them, but we're not going to do that now. We won't do that until summer school starts. All right, so this student would be okay to get the report card because they didn't have a district device. Brian, on the other hand, did not return his device, so he should have it with him when he comes to pick up his report card in his learning packet. If he does not, he should not get a report card, right? So let's assume that Brian does bring his Chromebook and charger with him, right? We'll just change that to returned, and now Brian turns green. Ava comes to pick up her report card and learning packet. Great, we can see that she already returned her device, so she can get her report card and learning packet. Bella, on the other hand, I can see did not return her Chromebook, right? However, I also see that she is enrolled in summer school. She's going to keep her Chromebook because she is enrolled in summer school, so Bella is okay to get her report card. On the other hand, this next student did not return their Chromebook, and we can see they are not enrolled in summer school. So this student cannot get their report card because they have not returned their Chromebook and they're not enrolled in summer school, right? And so you can see that that continues on down the line. This student would not receive a report card, would not, whereas this student would. Even though they didn't return their device, they are enrolled in summer school. And of course, anybody marked as returned would receive their report card and learning packet. Okay, I think you get the point, right? After the 11th, right? And then that next week, once you have this, before you leave, the important things before you leave on Friday, this spreadsheet should be completely up to date with any students that returned Chromebooks on that Friday. And so then on the next Monday, that next week, when you have administrative staff still in the buildings, we're still going to have parents filtering in and returning devices. So the administration needs to be able to open the spreadsheet and see exactly which students they need to contact to return devices. So in this case, the administration would not contact this parent because the student's in summer school, whereas this parent, this student's parent, this student's parent, they would contact because they can see that they have not returned their devices and they are not enrolled in summer school, right? So the important bit for you is to make sure that you have this done by Friday, completely up to date with everybody that has returned their device or didn't have a district device or did not return it, so that the administration knows who to follow up with in those following weeks, right? If there's anything that you notice on Chromebooks that are returned, perhaps it's a cracked screen, perhaps they didn't return part of the charger or things like that, you can indicate that in the notes here in column E, all right? The only other thing to remember is to apply masking tape to each Chromebook that you collect, and please legibly write the student's name on that. Just as Chromebooks start getting moved around, it's always helpful that we have those names on the actual device. So you will get masking tape and a Sharpie marker. Please, any Chromebook that you collect, make sure that you get a name put on it. And last thing I'll mention then is there is a tab for all the schools for the students in your building that were issued a hotspot. So you may have some students turning in hotspots. There aren't too many, like this is the list for an entire school. So you may have a couple of students in your class that turn in hotspots. Please just take those from the students, put the masking tape on it, and put that student's name on it. But just be aware that just because one of your students' name is on this list doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be turning it into you, because as you can see here, some of these are shared between several students in a household. So any one of these students may be turning in that hotspot to their teacher. So just be aware that this list is there. It would be great if you could help out and kind of remind the students on the list to bring in these hotspots as well. And just know, though, that they may be turning it into a different teacher. If you see several names listed there, that may be the cause. But in this case, like if you have Damari, remind Damari that they're supposed to be bringing that in as well. And make sure you mark that off with masking tape and put it right with the Chromebook, and your lab assistant will come by and pick those up along with the Chromebooks and the chargers. All right, that's it. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please just let me know. And that's it. If you have any questions, please let me know.